Hello, this is Tom Cahill. I'm just trying to find out who the NHS's public liability insurance provider is. So I put in NHS, and I've even put it in quotes, you know, so it only will go for results with NHS in, and Hiscox keeps coming up for, you know, NHS public liability insurance. So I'm going to call them now. Right, the time is 15:45, so they might not answer the phone, but I reckon they will. Insurance firms normally open. You can get them on 0808 115 8686. That's 0808 1158 686. 0808 1158 686.
Hello, this is Hiscox Insurance. Please press 1 for our business insurance team, or it's 2 for our home insurance team. Just to let you know, to keep improving, we record all of our calls. Okay, let's get you to the right team. For claims, press 1. If you are an existing customer, it's 2. Or if you would like a quote, press 3. Listen again. Your feedback is important to us. So if you have time, please stay on the line at the end of this call and take our short survey. Thanks. Sorry we can't answer your call straight away. We're helping lots of customers today. But we'll be with you as soon as possible.
Hello, Hiscox Insurance. You're speaking to Henry. How can I help today?
Oh, hello Henry. My name's Tom Cahill. I'm just making an inquiry, right? And I'll explain how I've come to think to call you. What it is I've just typed in NHS in inverted commas and public liability insurance, and it keeps coming up with Hiscox right at the start. Now that, if it's because it's in quotations, that normally means, you know, it basically says they won't put anything up that doesn't have NHS in it. Now I know that there is mention of NHS on your website, but do you underwrite NHS England?
We do as a scheme policy, yeah, not direct through the channel that you come through here, but we do have a scheme that has some sort of medical public liability underwriting for the NHS, yeah.
I'm sorry. Forgive my ignorance. What it is, I mean, I know you're doing as best you can, but what it is what I'm trying to work out is, you know, the way the NHS obviously probably works in different subsidiaries. So you've got like NHS England, haven't you? Yeah. So there'll be a separate company, I'd imagine. I don't know if they're all under the same, but the NHS is kind of like a public company, as in not a public trading company. I mean, it's a public company. It's a government company, isn't it? Like a government corporation, but it still has to have insurance, doesn't it?
Indeed, yes, it will, yeah.
Yeah. So now the reason I'm asking is because if I was speaking to, it's about 2 weeks ago now, I came across a very serious bit of misconduct in the NHS, right? And I phoned them up and I said, look, I've got the evidence here. This is very, very, very serious. It's an emergency situation. You need to do something about it. And they said, oh, we're to treat it as an emergency. We'll get back to you. Now, due to the severity of it, they're obviously too scared to get back to me. So a few days later, I did hear from them, and I kept phoning them, kept saying, oh, a different person's dealing with it now. It kept giving me these first names and like little codes like a policeman would give you, so they won't give their actual names. Now, I then got annoyed with this woman, she just called me on the hop, and I managed to record the call anyway, because I ran upstairs, I started recording it, and she, see, I'm very, very fast, you know, verbally very, very fast. You know, I'm one of these kind of people. It's very, anyone can catch me out, but you know what I mean. It's like I'm very good at catching people out. And this woman, she was trying to be smart with me, and she was calling from. Her name was Rosemary Hutton, and she was in their complaints management team. And the thing is, this Rosemary, I've looked her up, I found out a second name because she's put herself on LinkedIn, the idiot, and she's Irish, and there's an Irish woman who's like, you know, she looks Irish, and she's actually went to the university in Dublin. And what it seems that this Rosemary is a kind of troubleshooter to kind of cut things off when somebody makes a criminal complaint about them doing something very, very seriously criminal. She heads off, you know, like most big organisations have a kind of troubleshooter person, don't they, yeah? Because their LinkedIn profile doesn't really say anything. It just says she's working for the NHS complaints team, but it doesn't say anything else. And, you know, normally LinkedIn profiles say a bit more. So it's not like a closed profile. You can see it, you can see a picture, but you can't see like a lot about her. It just doesn't really say anything. You know, it's a bit like saying I work for the American State Department. That's the kind of thing a CIA agent would put up. Do you know what I mean? They don't say I kill people in Bolivia and Belize and, you know, and I sometimes in Venice once. They don't give these details because it's not sensible. But, you know, it still might have their picture and it might have the dates so that someone could chase them up. You know how it works. So I was a bit suspicious. Right now, so I did a bit of research, and what happened, this is where it's really weird, right? She phoned me up and she basically said to me, right, so I said, why are you calling? Are you a patient? I said, no, I'm not a patient. I'm a witness to serious misconduct, which is which is compromising your obligations under the law and under your mandate as the NHS, as the provider of, you know, medical treatment, and you're depriving a patient from treatment currently, which is an emergency. But the serious underlying issue is it seems that you're conspiring to cover up his very, very serious complaint. And she said, well, how do you know? Were you there? Were you a witness? Were you filming it? And I said, no, I'm a witness to the filmed evidence. That's evidence that, you know, this guy had caught this doctor falsifying, you know, falsifying his medical records, right? Very serious. You know, and if she's got caught doing that, right, and she was, you know, she's trying to like cut in, she's sort of trying to make out I'm some kind of an idiot, you know, the way these people do. But I mean, I've heard it all before. I have this kind of thing every day. My line of work, by the way, I work in, you know, contracts and claims, you know, so I deal, you know, on construction projects. Last project was actually like a huge oil refinery for BP, for instance, yeah. So I'm used to people lying to me constantly to, you know, pull a fast one, getting money. It's like you get lied to all day long, to the point I'm almost kind of like deaf to it. Do you know what I mean? I just expect it to happen every day, otherwise I wouldn't be doing my job. But the point is, with this woman, this Rosemary Hutton lady, right, she just slammed the phone down, right? So I wasn't rude to her, I was speaking to her just like I'm speaking to you, which is always how you speak to people in an adversarial situation, because there's no point in, you don't want to give them this, like, this new de facto excuse, oh, they were rude, or they, you know. And of course I'm recording the call, so I don't want to, you know, I'm gonna put the thing up. It's gonna go up because I'm trying to I ran upstairs to get the recorder on, so, you know, I'm gonna catch her. Now, I put this up on the internet, right, saying that, because there's a bit of a backstory to this, so I won't get into the details now, but the point is, I put it on the internet. Now, very weirdly, that video got removed from YouTube immediately, right, and it got the tweets where I put the video on the internet got removed as well, and I thought that's very weird, because, you know, Twitter normally and YouTube will tell you, look, there's been a complaint about this video and you can apply to get it put back up again, yeah. You can say, well, like they've said this is copyright, say, for instance, yeah. You say, well, it's not copyright, look, it's just a film of somebody, and they'll say, oh yeah, of course it's not copyright. And, you know, I know the guy who did the film, so it's not copyright. But this wasn't a copyright claim. It wasn't saying, you know, there's nothing vulgar on it or anything. There's no actual reason they can take it down. And they just said inappropriate content, which they're allowed to do. But you see, this means, right, if you read between the lines, you know, you've got to kind of jump forward a little bit. This is not something, I'm not explaining this to a 5-year-old, I can tell you quite bright. They have obviously gone to a lot of effort to get that video taken down, yeah, because it's not easy to take videos down. It really is not easy, yeah. You have to go through a sort of process. They don't take them down straight away. They have put a lot of resources into trying to take that down that fast. That won't be her doing that in her personal capacity, because she wouldn't have enough hours in a day. Do you know what I mean? She won't have gone home and got her husband or her kids to do it. You know what I mean? That's not how it would have worked. It wouldn't have happened that fast. And what I think it is she has kind of exposed herself as a kind of criminal, a little slant in the NHS are there to cover up, you know, criminal behaviour by doctors. Do you know someone like Shipman? Probably someone who was keeping Shipman afloat. Do you know what I mean? They think, oh no, we mustn't let this story out. Then once he's killed 50 people, they think, no, we really better not let this out now, because the rest of them will all come out. And then all of a sudden he's killed 250 people, 500 people, and they're like, oh look, we'll just say he's killed 150 and that'll be all right. We'll look all right then. It's this kind of thing. See, I think it's incredibly serious, and I'm not saying this lightly. I think that this Rosemary Hutton woman, the reason they're throwing so much resources at it is because they're in a load of trouble. And what it is that the victim, if you like, who was at the doctor's surgery and caught the woman on film falsifying his medical records, and she sort of freaked out. She's tried to get the police to, try to say he's a violent patient. She's doing all sorts, and they're depriving him of morphine, right? And they prescribed him with morphine. They don't give morphine to heroin addicts, they give them methadone, right? He's not a heroin addict who they give morphine. He's got severe pains, right? But they don't want to admit that he's got pains. This is his story, but I'll just let you know so you understand the backstory. So, I mean, he might not have severe pains. He reckons it's because he had this thing called arachnoiditis, and there's been lots of payouts for arachnoiditis, yeah? But for some reason, they don't want to, the payouts have kind of stopped now, and all the people who have got it, they're trying to palm them off and say they've got something else instead, or that they're swinging the lead and stuff. But he's gone to Poland and he's got an independent practitioner to say, yeah, you have got arachnoiditis. But in England, they'll just say, no, we can't see it. So they'll just say, they'll look at his scans and say there's nothing wrong with him. Whereas if he goes to another country, I think he went to Spain and he got it done as well, they said, no, you've got arachnoiditis, that's what it is. It's because you've got an injection of that, it's a poisonous drug, I forget what it's called. Give me a second, I can tell you the name of the thing. There's this, I'll tell you that he reckons the drug they gave him, I think it might be banned now. It's a bit like thalidomide. Oh yeah, it's called Myodil. M-Y-O-D-I-L. Sorry, M-Y-O-D-I-L. Right? But see, this is the issue. If you look at this thing on Twitter, I just don't get why they put so much of an effort into trying to take it down. And this is the thing that I want you to help with is NHS England. I've told them, look, I said, you need to put your insurance on notice because this is serious. It's actually over negligence, because it is misconduct, it is criminal misconduct, but it's also like public, like civil misconduct. Do you know what I mean? If I did something that could get me sacked from my job, and then when I punch somebody, because I punch somebody doesn't mean I don't get sacked from my job, because that's a crime. Do you see what I mean? You don't get out of the lesser thing by doing a worse thing. A lot of people sort of try and palm people off and say, oh no, that's a crime, call the police. Well, yes, but she's still working there, the doctor's still working there, and the practice manager's still working there. And this guy's filmed quite a lot of stuff, but it's quite incredible what he's caught. It's kind of a bit of a fluke, because you see, he's got, they're trying to get the police to say, oh, we mustn't go to the surgery, and then so he's phoned the police up and he's saying, right, well, they've got an obligation to provide me with medical care. So what am I going to do? And they're like, oh, phone the GMC. Now, the GMC do not manage doctors' surgeries. It's the NHS. Now, if the practice manager's called Helen Green, right, now, if Helen Green doesn't want to speak to him on the phone and puts the phone down on him, yeah, that is not just a historic civil wrong or criminal wrong, or civil and criminal wrong. That is an ongoing, persistent course of conduct, which is definitely harassment under the Protection of Harassment Act 1997. There's no question of that, because what they're doing is they're stopping him from having something he's allowed to ask for, which is medical care. They've got so just under straight normal law, that would be the case. If I was preventing him from getting in the surgery, but because they're actually being paid by the government to provide that service to him, which he's got an entitlement to.
Yeah.
Well, it's very, very serious, and they haven't got back to me and told me the insurance. And they keep saying, we'll get back to you. I gave up about a week ago. I haven't contacted them since then. I've CC'd them into various things, but it's a very, very serious issue. And the fact that they're so stupid, they think that they can take down some videos, which will have taken them a lot of resources, yeah, and they're not meant to be operating a cover-up service. Like when you pay your tax, right, you're not paying it for the NHS to have a criminal cover-up service. Do you know what I mean? If somebody publicises some crime in the NHS, they should prosecute the person and say, right, we held our hands up, yeah, they're criminals, make an example of them. That's what they should be doing. Instead, they've decided to cover it up. And the other thing is, right, just the other day, someone I know said that they've got reason to believe that, do you know the what are they called? Do you know the Madeleine McCann lawyers, Carter Ruck? You know Carter Ruck?
Oh, I don't know the name. Yeah.
Carter Ruck, right? And I've heard from them in the past over another issue, over a bent lawyer. And the thing with Carter Rock, they know me, right? They know that I can't be shut up by them sending me threatening letters because, well, I've got a history of them sending me threatening letters and it hasn't worked, yeah? It's actually backfired on them very, very badly because I've promoted what they were, because they were trying to do another cover-up. But it looks like, right, they've been trying to sign up to a private website that's got videos of mine published. And you can see all the videos and everything they put up on there, and the articles, but you can't comment on them unless you sign up. And this woman who works for Carter Rock's been trying to get on there, and they said, no, that's probably... And I said, well, what do you think the problem is? And they said, no, the reason we're telling you is not... We think that they're trying to get on... They think there's more evidence on their website that they're trying to get, because they're probably trying to... what Carter Rock do is they terrorise people who are pointing out a criminal activity, and they're kind of allowed to by the government. They shouldn't be allowed. It's actually seriously criminal what they do. And they kind of scare the living daylights out of people, rack up these humongous fees. So you'll get a letter saying, oh, by the way, we spent £50,000 on fees, and be quiet, otherwise we're going to charge you this £50,000. That kind of thing. That's what they do, yeah. But you see, the fact is, I'm pretty sure that the NHS are wasting money protecting this criminal, and I'm pretty sure that it will turn out that it will be Carter Rock they've been wasting the public money on. And this is where it gets more interesting, right? I looked up on their website the person's name. I forget the name. She's got a very, very odd name. I'll find it as I'm speaking to you. But when I typed in her name, one of the other people at Carter Rock came up. And this is just like a bit of intelligence for you, right? There's a woman working for Carter Rock who's called Helena Shipman, right? And she used to work for the NHS, and then she worked for Carter Rock. And I'm thinking, that's a bit weird. Do you know sometimes when these things just pop in front of you? You're looking for one thing, and then all of a sudden it just falls in front of you. And you start thinking, there's something sus going on there. But I can't think of the woman I was speaking to. I just can't think of her name. It's a really, 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 really odd name. Give me a second. I can do a bit of a search here just very quickly.
Just quick, in regards to the initial inquiry that's aimed towards me here, so how can I help exactly?
Well, you underwrite NHS England, don't you?
What we do is we're the underwriting company, but it's offered through a broker, so the broker's the one that manages it with Hiscox underwriting the policy. Well, not all of them. We cover some of the NHS, whatever they're called, locations, but not all of them.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. How would
we cover some of the whatever they are, some of the hospitals, but not all.
Yeah, I'll tell you which one it was trying to flog onto that site. Her name is right, and this is a real. Well, it's got a picture of her. Her name is right. Don't laugh, because it's not. I'm not saying her name just to be nasty, but her parents did call her this, which is very unfair. She's called Perisphone Bridgman Baker.
That's an interesting name.
Yeah, it's an interesting name.
That's quite I can be about it on a recorded call. That's an interesting name.
It's an interesting punishment to call the kid that. But anyway, I don't know. I wonder if she just didn't do very well at school, so they started punishing her or something. But anyway, so Persepphone Bridgman Baker, Bridgman Baker. Now I contacted them and said, you've been stalking people I know. Is it anything to do with this NHS thing? Just to make them know that I know what they're up to, because it probably is this. It could be something completely separate to this. But the point is, Carter Rock are always up to something, yeah. So it'll just give them something else to worry about, and they deserve it. They get a lot of money, And anyway, but yeah, this is the thing. So how do I find out who underwrites their public liability? Because at the minute, yeah, that guy has been without morphine for a few days, and he's allowed morphine. They were the ones who gave him morphine for pain, and now they're not letting him have it, and they're just putting the phone down on him. He's been recording the calls, they're putting the phone down on him. Yeah, they're saying, the police are saying go to the GMC. The GMC are saying go to NHS, which is obviously correct. The GMC are refusing to take a complaint. They've formally said, no, we're not taking a complaint at this stage, sort of thing, yeah? Just giving a complete blank, right?
Yeah.
But you see what I'm trying to say? This, ultimately, it is a GMC issue, but that's a periphery issue. That's like if you employ an engineer on an engineering job for Balfour Beatty, but Balfour Beatty would be the ones you'd sue if they make a mistake. That the engineer may also get in trouble by the Royal Institute of Chartered Engineers, but Balfour Beatty would be the person you'd sue, wouldn't you? You see the kind of logic? Balfour Beatty can't, you know, if they're the ones building the bridge and the bridge falls down and it's the engineer's fault, Balfour Beatty would be the ones who pay the majority of the money, wouldn't they? Because the engineer is working for them on the job. You would rarely sue the engineer. You'd sue Balfour Beatty, then they'd sue the engineer on their professional indemnity insurance. You see, so with this, that's what I'm thinking.
But in that instance, obviously, that's been a negligent act, hasn't been a criminal act. In this case, if it's been a criminal act, the insurance is void anyway, because insurance can't cover a criminal act.
Yeah, but you see, the issue is that if it can't cover a criminal act, they've got to argue that it's a criminal act, haven't they? That would be how like, look, in the past I've had situations with insurers covering for you know, like, let's say you've got a criminal solicitor does some conveyancing on a house that doesn't exist for a Ponzi scheme, for instance. Yeah, for instance, that's a specific example that's happened in the past. The point is, the insurance don't go, right, they're criminals, because then they're dropping them in it, and they're not really allowed to drop their clients in it, because if they do that, they actually have to go to the police, report them to the police, because of obligations under, you know, like various proceeds of crime type acts. Do you know, like this whole, you know, and that they can't just sort of cover, you know, like, and you know, like the Patriot Act in America, most of them will have links to American firms that have signed that, so they have to compliance under that. And, you know, for instance, things like the Bribery Act 2010. You know, the way if any criminal activity goes on, you've got to report it, and you've got to have a facility in to report the crime. You can't just ignore it because it's a client. If they've done something criminal, you can't say, well, it's criminal, so therefore it goes above our level of authority. If you do that, you have to report them, don't you?
Yeah, like Process of Crime and all that. Process of Crime Act.
Well, there's loads of acts that are all about it. It's like you can't just turn a blind eye to crime involving your business, can you? Do you know what I mean? Because the whole point is, if they have broken the law, and they have, you know, avoided any, you know, like started lying about or tried to subvert or tried to terrorise people into pursuing it, that will actually void their policy, won't it? Because as soon as someone mentions negligence, they're meant to notify their insurance to say, yeah, there's been a claim that we've acted negligently. You know, you probably have hundreds of these notifications, maybe a week, but we're going to fight it. But we just tell you, it's like, as I said, that's what you'd do on a construction job, wouldn't you? You'd say, somebody said we've acted negligently, we haven't. You just say that, and then, you know, probably, you know, 6 months down the line, it's all forgotten about, because, you know what I mean, you come to some kind of agreement, and let's say you have acted negligently. The party who's made the complaint will probably have been settled with, or, you know, you've come to some agreement. You know what I mean? It doesn't mean, like, for every notification of negligence, it doesn't mean the policy's engaged for everyone. It's probably only 1 in every 5 or something. Do you know what I mean?
Indeed, I do.
So, what do I do about getting in touch with it? You know, who do I talk to at their insurance, and how do I go about making sure that it is NHS England are being underwritten by what division of Hiscox?
I mean, this is the issue. There is really no way to do that, because obviously the insurance company can't disclose, because of the Data Protection Act, we can't disclose information about our clients. You'd have to be a member of said NHS. What is the word? They're not districts, are they? Whatever they are, you'd have to be a member of that for us to be able to disclose that information to you. I mean, I can tell you that we definitely underwrite the NHS in some of the localities. We don't, I mean, there's loads, and we don't do them all by any stretch, but for you to actually gain access to that information, you have to be what's referred to as a named person on the policy, or an authorised person on the policy, for us to be able to confirm the information with you.
So what's the policy with it? Would I have to? Are they obliged to tell me? Are they obliged to tell me if they're notified? They've been notified 2 weeks now to, you know, put their insurance on notice and give me their details, and they still haven't done it. How long have they got before it becomes yet another breach?
I'm pretty sure informed to oblige you, or if they've received what they would perceive to be a potential claim, they'll pass it on to their insurer, at which point the insurer will then, evaluate the claim as to its merit or not, and then really they'll wait for the legal team to, you know, if the person's a claimant, to contact them regarding the next steps.
Right.
That's really about the process of the. There isn't really much of a regardless process outside of that. I mean, if you've lodged it has to obviously be it can't be a criminal act. You know, there's nothing they can do about that. If it's a breach of negligence, though, if it's actually something that's covered under insurance, then yeah, the NHS will inform their insurer that they've received a claim in that regard.
Yeah, but it's both, isn't it? Because it's not a crime for them to withhold medicine and treatment from a patient, that's a civil wrong, isn't it? Because it's a breach of their obligations. But if that person has a follow-on problem as a result of that, like let's say they I don't know, get very, very depressed and more ill or something like that, or they killed themselves, or they did anything like that, that isn't a criminal thing. Well, it could be criminal, but it's a public liability issue, isn't it?
I think it would be more a professional indemnity one. Public liabilities do.
No. Sorry, because it is professional indemnity, of the doctor. But the thing is, look, if the doctor says I don't want to see you, right, the doctor's allowed to do that, right? It might be a breach of their professional indemnity insurance. Yeah, it might be because they might have done it maliciously to try and cover for themselves. But it's the practice manager who works for the NHS, or sorry, it's answerable. It's like a kind of franchise. These doctor surgeries, aren't they?
Yeah.
She works for the NHS. So, are you following me? It's an NHS issue, and she needs to be told, no, you've got to treat this as an emergency. An emergency, you've been repeatedly phoned, you keep putting the phone down, you've called the police on the guy, and he actually caught them. It's amazing, right? He went round there on the Monday before last to pick up a prescription. This wasn't an appointment, and his son was with him, and they filmed the police all ran out looking all guilty. There was 3 cars. They weren't full of police, but there was more than 3 policemen in the doctor's surgery, and they tried to sneak out round the back door, and he filmed them doing it. And then when he said, "What are you doing here?" Because they sort of like, when he got there, they were like, "Look, it's him," sort of thing. And it's like, what? He's just gone to the doctor's to pick up a prescription, and he's caught the police conspiring with him. And now it's a recorded call, the police phoning him up and threatening him and saying, "You better stop putting stuff online, otherwise you'll be in trouble." No, seriously, man, it's a big. It's not just some little thing that I'm just making up. It's a big deal. They're taking it very, very seriously. This is not sometimes something happens and you think it's even bigger than what I thought it was going to be, because I knew they were messing him around. But it's just that because they're so what do you call it? They're shell shocked because they're not used to getting caught on film doing things. Do you know what I mean? They think I'm a doctor, I can get away with anything. Then they get caught once, get caught twice, get caught 3 times. They're in a real flap about it, and you see, of course, this is causing him like alarm and distress, which is a civil and criminal issue, isn't it? Because harassment is similar and criminal, and they prevent barring him access to a right of his, which is, medical attention. He's a taxpayer. He lives in England. Anyone in England's allowed medical attention, and they're depriving him of it. So he doesn't know if he's got a doctor. Have they transferred his details to another doctor? And then they've put on his records that he's a violent patient. Complete nonsense. They've just said it, and they put him on this bullshit violent patient scheme. So what happens is, if he goes to a doctor's, an NHS, an emergency, accident emergency, it flags up on his system is this guy's a violent patient and he's dangerous. Yeah. Do you see what I mean? So it's just like
an insurance perspective. I don't know this for sure because it's not an area that I specialise in, but I'm pretty sure you could request information in regards to if you wish to make a claim, a civil claim, a negligence, etc. I don't know this for sure because it's not the area that I work in terms of 100% expertise. But I'm pretty sure you must be able to request information in regards to making a claim. They'll direct you to an internal legal team initially, but from that point onwards, that should hopefully give you a bit more information about where you can go. Either that legal team will help you direct you to the right point, or they can't. If you wish to make a claim, they can't refuse to accept your claim. It just
no. Well, you see, the reason that this is where I'm thinking, right, is it would be more of a case of, and it's hampered because I was up there the other day. Do you know the High Courts at the minute? The judges are all off, so it's difficult to get a hearing for an interim application, because the way they could put in place a writ of mandamus or something to say to them, look, you must do this. And for instance, his medical records they've been withholding for a long time, and he's paid them, and they haven't paid it. They haven't given them to him, and they've been falsifying his records. So all these things, what it would be is you'd start a claim and then you'd put an application to get, I think it's a writ of mandamus, or is that only on law enforcement type people? I don't know, but either way, you could actually put an order on the NHS, but it's do you see what I mean? Because the NHS is like a brand name, but it's not one company, so I'm trying to work out who it would be on, because you could just literally list all of the NHS England subsidiaries and just say we don't know which one it is, they will not disclose the information, so you just put the order on all of them. You could do that. I could do that, but you see, it's not very difficult to do, and they'll be so confused when they get that because it's so rare for people to do. There's not really any way the judge can't award the order either. because they are entitled to it. But you see, if we do that, that will cause them an absolute massive load of problems, yeah? And so that's what I'm saying. If you are their insurer, and I understand maybe you can't say, and you probably might not know, well, I know you probably wouldn't know if there's different insurers insuring different parts. It's very important that this gets nipped in the bud, because they have been acting in a way which could be considered serious misconduct, and they're definitely breaching their kind of mandate, you know, their kind of, whatever you call it, roles and responsibilities they're being paid to do, and, you know, in a very, very serious and overt manner. There's no real way they can get out of it.
No.
And now they've inveigled the police in it, and the police have got caught out on video sneaking about down at the surgery, and when he says, what are you doing there? They go, oh, an incident. What do you mean an incident? They're talking like they've been caught masturbating, do you know what I mean? It's like they were obviously there to concoct some story to say, oh, he's violent, yeah, when he stopped filming he was violent afterwards, you know, the kind of thing they've come out with. But because we also know that the doctor who initially got him to take morphine is the police doctor, you know, so if you have an call for a doctor in that place in Hillingdon, it's that doctor is the one the police use, so he'll be a Mason, yes? So it's obviously they've gone round the Mason back channel to try and fit him up. But you see, he's really worried about it. He's not living in his house at the minute because he said, no, it's too risky, you've got to move away for a little bit because they're causing so much trouble for him. But you see, it's a super story. It's really, really interesting. But you see, it's like, I don't, you know, like when somebody's under a lot of duress, you know, sometimes it's useful for people to help them out. So I've helped him out, that's it. And because they can see people are helping him out, they're, I know, for instance, the police were on film saying, who's this Tom Kyle? Who's this Tom Kyle? Because they're very, very worried, because I've named them in relation to perverting the course of justice and terrorising victims of crime. Because I've caught the police doing this in the past, but not normally. You don't normally catch them on camera doing it. You know what I mean? It's quite rare.
Yeah. Well, it's very rare. I mean, yeah, it's very rare.
I mean, normally, when the police know they're on film, they behave themselves. But in this case, he's literally caught them on the hop, and they just don't know what else to say. So, you know...
Yeah, certainly. It's a predicament. It certainly is.
Okay, right.
From my perspective here, I mean, we do definitely underwrite some of the...
One second.
Oh, last time I checked anyway, obviously. We do, it's all through a broker. So a broker will be the one that manages it. He will the NHS department that handles the insurance will contact the broker, and then the broker will contact us and say NHS Birmingham wishes to insure liabilities, indemnities, etc. Right. We'll look to underwrite that.
Right, I've got to go and get my dinner, but you've been very helpful. Have a nice evening. Thanks for all your help.
Thank you for your time.
Thanks a lot, mate. Bye-bye. Right, that was Hiscox Insurance. 1817 GMT +1. Friday the 3rd. It's the 2nd of September 2016. Thanks a lot.